Today we're doing a demonstration, a video manual, if you will, of the Performer 2400 HD Orgone Generator. This is a heavy-duty device. The Performer retails for $23.69. This video is primarily for those who already have the Performer, though of course anyone who's interested can watch. And we're going to go through one by one what the Performer is, what it does, and how you can best use it. Remember, these are all tools. These are versatile tools. This is a relatively new technology, so there's still more to be discovered. Now, with the Performer, for starters, plug it in. This plugs into your standard wall outlet. Those of you in Europe, Asia, overseas, there's adapters. Just let us know. Now, the Performer essentially has two generators in one. So first things first, turn it on. It's your on button. Now, as you can see, this light is on, this one is not. Your preset frequencies, those are on now. So this part of the generator can run independently or together with the other part of the generator. These preset frequencies are as simple as they look. All that's required is set to the frequency you desire: relaxation, yoga, meditation, autogenics, affirmations, subconscious commands. Carl has a really good course on autogenics, by the way. If there's something that you think is related and you wonder if that frequency will work well, like yoga, meditation, I think that would work for Tai Chi just fine. So as an example, you don't have to be too strict on what the preset frequency does. The body can adapt as well as the generator. So this second button here, this turns on this part of the generator. There are actually two independent generators within the Orgone generator. Now these three dials control the frequency here, which is visible on the frequency tuner. 0 to about 533. So by using these three dials, you can set the precision frequency you desire. You can also use them as traditional rate settings. While it does also alter the frequency, a radionic rate is a way of locking in a mental abstraction through a physical medium. So just like a pendulum, setting a rate is as simple as, let's say for a target, imagining the target, and when you have a good visual, picking a rate that represents that target. What's happening is the rate merges your abstract thought with a concrete rate. So that's about 62.5. And you can reference that later to access the same abstraction. They've done studies that when people scribble stuff down, nondescript scribbling, and when a person looks at that scribbling later, they can remember what they were thinking about while they were scribbling. Albert Hieronymous, I believe, Dr. Hieronymous, is the father of modern radionics. You can check him out. So going on with the anatomy, you have an audio input, just exactly what you'd imagine. I like to put classical music on repeat. Turn this on, through your iPod, computer, whatever. And the audio is imbued into the Orgone generator, thus affecting the output. You can also put affirmations here, mantras. You can even do audiobooks. On the bottom here, you've got your 4 rubber, so you can set it anywhere. These we call the well plate. It's another traditional radionics term. In metaphysics, they'd call this the witness plate and this is an orgonite stick pad. This is also used in conjunction with the rates. We'll get to that. Silver output tubing, 99.99% pure silver. While this is the main output, technically anywhere around the generator has orgone. Of course, using a structural link, you can send the orgone to the other side of the world. Though, people say, well, do I have to put it right here? No, you can put things here, 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 under the device, even relatively close by. There's a lot of different ways to set up an operation. An operation is simply a target, a trend, like Optimism, for example, and the orgone. So those three components make for an operation. What a lot of people don't realize is that every person every day is running operations. People talk about the simulation, so on and so forth. Every person has life force orgone, or else they'd be dead. And people do this type of thing all the time. And if you think about examples in your own life, you can draw conclusions to parallels and examples and so forth. But my point is this. Once you understand the basic components, the common functioning principles, it's really not that complicated. And for starters, I like to keep it simple. It's one of the reasons why the Performer is a great device, because it has these preset frequencies. So it can truly be as simple as, now these two won't detract from each other. Actually, having slightly different frequencies next to each other, there's kind of it's like putting two crystals nearby. They only help each other. Let me just say it that way. So we'll start simple, we'll go more advanced. You've got the anatomy. This, you can put a glass of water on here, okay? Glass of water on here, a picture of yourself, a picture of a friend. You can put written operations here. If you have the program, you can get the structural link that comes with the program, place it on your device, and that links the Orgone Generator to your software program. The software program is a way to easily organize operations with a series of moving images, texts, frequencies. You also have a Radionics rate setter on there, as well as a stick pad, a virtual stick pad. The program is very convenient while using on your laptop. Actually, I'll do a demonstration later on another video. But basically, the Orgone Generator is linked to the program with a structural link, and the program energizes different operations you set up by way of image and text. So it's convenient in that you can pull text from the internet very easily, your own files, photos, text, so forth. Now, as I was saying, glass of water here, smoothie, coffee, and that's one variable. So the generator's on and you're energizing something, food, water, yourself. This will fill a good-sized house fairly quickly. I think maybe a 5,000 square foot house, fairly large house, would take maybe an hour or two. Depends on if you have people, pets. Now, any living being will pull orgone, and when left unattended, the Orgone Generator will saturate everything in the house, including water in the pipes, food in the fridge, pets, with orgone. So just by having it on and by placing a glass of water here, or by leaving it on your house, the Orgone Generator is functioning. Now, to add another piece, you use the preset frequency tuner. So let's say I'm doing some writing. I can do top decisions, creativity. Leave this on in my house, in my study, my office, and simple as that. I will be pulling the orgone set with the frequency of creativity, top decisions as well, and there you have it. Now another example, Optimism success. And this I would just leave on. It adds to the organ output. We'll deal with both here in a minute, but you can just leave this on. Just adds orgone to the operation here. Now, Optimism success. Take your cup of coffee. Put your cup of coffee, your partner's cup of coffee right here. You can put one here, one here. You can energize the coffee pot. And you are now energizing that cup of coffee with Optimism and success, orgone. It's not particularly for this video. This would be more, if you want to get into the how. We're doing other videos about that, but we've done a lot of studies with water. One way to test is the ohms resistance in water changes almost instantly. That's the surface tension of water. So there's different ways to measure the orgone output. Again, this is more for people who already have a device. You can feel it. Most people can feel it straight away. Now, keep this in mind. If you have this on in your house and you're doing, for example, a water test, like a blind water test where you charge one glass of water and you don't charge the other, well, if you have this on in your house, then all of the water in your house after a while is energized. So if you take 2 glasses of water and you're trying to show a friend, well, hey, don't you taste the difference? This one's energized, this one's sitting over here on the other side of the counter. They won't be able to tell, most likely, because they'll both be saturated with orgone by being in the house where this is left running. So whenever we do expos, and people come by, they say, okay, what does this do? All right, can I feel it? Whenever we're doing expos, we don't turn on any of the generators to start, because what will happen is if we're bringing especially the ATG12, the RAD5, the whole inventory, we've got them all out, you'd think, yeah, fire them up. Well, the entire expo hall, after a certain amount of time, especially if you have all the generators there running, the entire expo hall will fill with orgone, and people nearby, they may be meandering over and they're charged with orgone. Then by the time they get to you, they don't feel the difference. So if you're going to do water tests and stuff like that, make sure to do it in an area that's not saturated with orgone. So you can figure that out. But it works well away from home with a structural link. Is an easy way to do it. So you got your coffee energized. Now you can also just leave Optimism and Success on in your house, and again, there you have it. Well, let's say you've got a cousin who's taking a big test. You can either put your cousin's picture on the device with Optimism and Success and charge your cousin that way, or you could write their name. So me, cousin Charlie, and energize that way. So cousin Charlie is now being energized with Optimism and Success. Because it is your cousin, you'd probably just write first and last name. You'd also write whatever you call your cousin, because you have a link to your cousin. Most people have links to their targets. Oftentimes your target is just yourself, so it's fairly easy that way. So as long as you have your cousin Charlie's mental image, I guess you could say, or a structural connection when you're writing the name, then the orgone is set to go there. That's because you, the operator, tell the orgone where to go. Once it's locked in, your target will be continually energized with the trend as it is set until you change it. Now we'll make it a little more fun. Cousin Charlie, 3 to 7 p.m. Tuesday. You'd maybe write the date. You could even write the place. So what's happening here, Cousin Charlie between 3 and 7 p.m. Tuesday is being charged with Optimism and Success. Let's say that's when the test is, right? Well, here's a special. You can leave this on for, let's say, a day. You could even do it for, if it's just one person, for 4 hours with this device, maybe 45 minutes. something like that. But you leave it on for an hour. You're charging Cousin Charlie, especially if you're not running any other operations. Even if the device is off, let's say you turn it off or your power goes out, during Charlie's test on Tuesday, once you have set the time and place and energized it, even if the device is off during the actual 3 to 7 Tuesday, Charlie will still be charged with optimism and success. That's because the life force is already there. If you take a Gaussian universe model, time space being its own dimension, life force being another, electromagnetism being a third, gravity being the fourth, and then multiples and interactions of each, life force functions beyond time and space. We'll get into more of that later. Again, this is just for how-to, so we'll make it a little more fun. So what I do if I'm running more than one operation, and insofar these examples have only been one operation at a time, people ask, well, what happens if you just have this on, and what happens after, well, the orgone will continue to fill the house, everything in the house, throw out, ground out into the earth, so on and so forth, neighbors. But if you only have one operation going, one person can only take so much orgone. So once one person is saturated, then the orgone continues on, following basically the laws of reverse entropy, where the stronger always pulls from the weaker. If you think about that in today's world where the rich get richer, well, in nature, it does make sense, and there is science behind that. So reverse entropy, the orgone, the stronger life form will pull from the weaker always. So in your house, the person would be saturated with orgone before the dog. Now, okay, if you're running multiple operations, what I tell everyone, if you're using the program, it's a little bit different online because they're already separated. This is just a good measure, good rule of thumb. Equal and separate operations. It's as simple as that. Now, set this, either on the bottom of your device or on the top, wherever. Equal and separate operations. This could be a post-it note. You could even lock it in on the rate, on a dial. You could just visualize and say to yourself, all operations are equal and separate. Some people are visual, some people are auditory. I imagine that the operations with kind of a border around them. Now, this is so that, let's say you're doing a love spell, success, you're charging your garden, that, all of a sudden your tomato plant falls in love with your sage plant. Okay, so just keep operations equal and separate. And that'll also make it so that the equal part, that all operations are receiving equal output. With a device this big, you can probably run 15 to 25 operations at once. Now, what I've done before is I'll stack up dozens and dozens of operations, different people, family, friends, success, different deals I'm working on, super learning, books that I want to learn about, so you can put a book here, all kinds of stuff. All this is a life force engine. So you direct the life force where you desire for it to go. But my point is, you can run many, many, many operations, and what will happen is they'll all saturate equally, and once some of the operations are saturated, then the orgone will move on to energize the others. So for example, if you let's say you're rescuing dogs, and you wanted to energize all the dogs, so you have 100 different dogs you rescued. You put 100 of the dogs here, you put their names, pictures, you could put a picture of all of them together. You have equal and separate operations. You want to do super stamina and endurance. Then the dogs will be energized equally and separately until all the dogs are saturated with orgone. So, by the way, it looks like a woman in Florence is getting in trouble because she rescued 27 dogs and she didn't have permits. So I think there's a GoFundMe or something up for her, but it'd be nice to help her out. So Bottom line is you can have one operation with, you can have one target with 20, 30, 40, 50 trends, or you can have 50 targets with one trend. That's the example with the dogs. You're charging 100 different dogs with super stamina and endurance, and any combination there in between. Now, don't let the anatomy of the generator, you don't have to be too dogmatic about putting this here or putting this here. You know, it's meant to be set up a certain way. So for example, one thing you could do, there's many different combinations of things you can do. So as far as the setup goes, let's say we still got cousin Charlie. We got him 3 to 7 Tuesday with super stamina endurance. We want optimism success. Now we're going to do another trend. I'll show you. 62 hertz is physical vigor. So here's another interesting thing. This is 0.61. Let's see if I can do it here. If I can get 0.62, that also serves as 62 hertz because of the law of octaves. So people ask, well, I want to do a 5,320 frequency. Oh, yeah. You can get it by hitting the lower octave. Okay, so this can also serve as 62 hertz. Now, I'm going to do the actual 62 hertz, and this is a good frequency for physical vigor, if I remember correctly. So bear with me. Oh. All right. $62 hertz, close enough. Okay, so we got Charlie, optimism success. Now, physical vigor, this is for me. Let's say I'm going to work out, doing a hike. You write your name, you can write me. Or you could put your picture there. Or you could put a fingernail clipping, strand of hair. So these are two operations running equally and separately. You've got cousin Charlie with optimism success. You got me with physical vigor. Okay. Now, on the radionics side of things, I don't recommend this to a lot of people just because it's a very niche practice. Radionics simply means action at a distance. Though I'll show you one or two examples just so you know. Again, a rate is simply defined. They used to think rates were frequencies. You know, you can buy these books. Oh, this is the frequency for, you know, this or that, the frequency of the moon. Well, a rate is simply effective because of its defined value. So the stick pad, this is the motion here that you would normally do to lock in a radionics rate. You can do it just the one, but the two does both sides of the brain. So you're circling your finger on the stick pad. They call it the stick pad because when you get it to stick, that's when you have your rate locked in. It's like a muscle test, okay? So you could do target, trend on here. So I'll show you one example. So for target, I'm imagining, well, I'm going to do an easy one. I'll imagine myself, right? So you just self, pretty easy. You're right here. So you lock in that rate and the stick pad sticks. We think of Orgonites like an organic computer chip. We do believe this will be like the personal computer where everyone will have one. We're still doing our own research. But the rate, you can look up traditional radionics books and stuff too. So I've got my rate. So as of now, I locked in myself as the target. Again, You can also use your fingernail clipping, a strand of hair, your picture, a written statement, super manifestation program, or if you're in proximity, you can do that. You can also use the Orgonite pendant pair or the Power Booster. Power Booster retails $119. They're for both middle of the line and heavy duty devices. All that's different is the size of the silver tubing. So the Power Booster fits on right here, and it comes with a linked pendant. And that pendant has a structural link to the Power Booster. So you're not only boosting the power of the device, but you're creating a structural link. You have a structural link from your device to the pendant. So you can, again, use the rate, or you can simply have a pendant on you, and you can do the trends otherwise. So again, there's many ways to skin a cat. So we've got our target locked in, and trend, let's say charisma. So I'm going to imagine a time when I was very charismatic, and maybe an actor or a public figure I admire who's very charismatic. Maybe I'll get a visual of them in a very charismatic moment. So I'm basically getting a mental abstraction of charisma, and I'm defining that down to a point. Once you have a clear picture, a clear essence of charisma, and it's locked in, then there your operation is set. Target, me, trend, charisma. The third one, this is another thing that I like to do, grounding of any possible repercussion. Now, what could be the repercussion of being charismatic? Well, you might find yourself with less and less time on your hands. It's the same thing as they say. These sayings are around for a reason. Be careful what you wish for. So that's what I tell people. They say, well, is there any risk to the thing? No, but, be careful what you wish for and be specific. Because, I'll leave it at that. So you could say grounding of any possible negative repercussion. Now, you could also not do the grounding. You have these three dials, so target, me, trend, charisma, and then you could also do, let's say, for instance, a time. So I've got a speech tomorrow at noon. I could see myself with the speech being charismatic, target, trend, charisma, time, noon to 1. So I could see the crowd enjoying my speech. My words are flowing effortlessly. I've got an essence of charisma. By the way, this is the same stuff that Napoleon Hill, Neville Goddard, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Grant Cardone, all these manifestation people. There's so many different dogmas, so many different techniques. It's the same deal, whether you call it the simulation or manifestation or God, higher power, or whatever, metaphysics. There's as many objective realities as there are particles in the known universe, and that's quite a few. So basically, if you look at the world like a simulation, reality is an effect of your subconscious. If you want to go back to What the Bleep Do We Know? It's a great video. The quantum, all this other kind of stuff. The bottom line is, with these three rates, you're defining the outcome beyond time and space, and the Orgone Generator is an added boost to all these different types of manifestations. Vision boards, all this kind of stuff. With a vision board, you're simply energizing the vision board with your own personal life force. With the generator, you're energizing with the generator. So you can feel the life force field, we can test it, and this life force is going towards your operation. This was invented by Carl Welz in 1991. So I do think that many of these techniques will be as churning butter was in the past. Good way to test it is on your plants. So again, there's a lot of ways to do it with the rates. You can use these. So a frequency, because you're changing the frequency, it's as you define it. So in that case, these are defined as rates, albeit the frequency was whatever it was. What matters is what you set it to. So, and if you have the equal and separate operations, you can have an operation running here and here and you can even have one here. So for example, I'll show you. So we got Cousin Charlie, 3 to 7 p.m. Tuesday. Let's give him optimism plus success plus intelligence. Now, while you're writing that, obviously the words are structural links to those energies, right? You know, what are you doing when you spell? When you're spelling, you're casting a spell. So optimism, success, intelligence, Cousin Charlie, 3 to 7 p.m. Tuesday. Now you could also put a picture of like Einstein, or someone who's successful, intelligent, even someone Charlie admires. And we're gonna put this right here. So I've got Cousin Charlie rolling. Next, relaxation, yoga, meditation. Now, relaxation, yoga, and meditation, I'm going to energize my house with. So what I'm going to do is, you can put your address, or you could just put my house. Also, it's in your house, so that helps. So I've got Charlie, I've got my house with relaxation, yoga, and meditation. And then we could set a frequency here, 62 hertz, or we could do 33 hertz. 33 hertz is supposed to be Christ consciousness, crystal consciousness. So I'll do 33 hertz, and let's say my friend Susie wanted me to charge her crystal. She heard about my new device. She wanted to test it out, so I said sure. So Susie's quartz piece. If she's got more than one, you would need to define. So let's say her favorite quartz piece. You could also have a picture of that quartz piece. You could also have 2 orgonite pendants, one here, the other with her quartz piece. So what you can do is target. Say you're targeting yourself. So let's just say you put your picture right here, strand of your hair, or it's just in your room. But if you're going about your daily activity, you're going different places, it's better to have a link to you here or here. So let's say you got your picture here, or you've got the orgonite pendant with you. We're going to do precision concentration. We're also going to do optimism, success, intelligence. You could also put one of your favorite crystals here, like an amethyst point, something like that. So you're imbuing yourself with precision, concentration, optimism, success, intelligence, and the essence of amethyst or whatever crystal you put here. Or you could lock in a rate. Let's say you visualize Einstein and you're energizing yourself with the intelligence of Einstein. You could do like this too. You can load books, pictures, other stuff here. You could pop in a audio input of a motivational album or playlist and have that rolling. So then you're receiving the audio essence through the orgone output to yourself. All right, well, there's a good few examples. We'll do more later, but that should be plenty to get the hang of it. As usual, give me a call, text, email, and comment with any questions. Enjoy the device, experiment, have fun, be safe, and we'll talk to you later.